Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Tony. So Tony, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So Tony, can you give us your full type?
I'm an audio, so MF, and I'm an ENTP, so Ne-Ti, and one of the high energy of supposedly consume, play, blast, sleep.
Gotcha. So that would be the most extroverted of the self-above tribe type of ENTP.
Yep.
What did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
I got audio correct, and I got my quadro correct, so I thought I was an INTP who was MF, and I thought I was like pretty much Bill Gates except for audio, so consume, sleep, play, blast.
Okay.
And then when I got my audios, like Dave was like, "Oh yeah, like I have these checklists and stuff." So the first thing I saw was he introvert extrovert. He's like, "Tony's really extrovert." I'm like, "What? What? Where do you see this?" And then also they're like sleep last, and I was like, "What?" I've had it for about a week now, so I processed it, but those are like really surprising when I heard it.
Yeah.
Well, I was in a work meeting when I saw my results, so I was mentoring someone, and I was like, "I'm an ENTP, what?" And I was like freaking out, but I couldn't really do it until like I was done with the meeting.
Well, I mean, why would you freak out though? Like that you're an ENTP instead of INTP? Like they're pretty close, right? So
I was really convinced I was an INTP.
okay. I mean, the biggest difference between those two is one has people problems and one have things problems. So do you have things problems? Like, do you freak out about like people controlling you or being controlled or like documents, filling up paperwork and stuff?
um, all right. Well, I guess a few things with that. Well, they said in the audios how like double deciders can still have people problems. So the reason I'm a double decider is that I process myself and the tribe too easily. And so based on that, I'm like, okay, you have a very fair point there. I can see like myself and other people kind of easily,
Yeah,
especially with the double activate FE. Um, Even though I'm I'm like a TI and then double FE and then TI with my animal stack.
yeah.
Um, but then for most of my life, I was like, people are the really chaotic, variable parts of my life that I can't control, that I can't like really just willfully like get better at.
Yeah.
Like if it's like if it's something I can learn to get better at it. Well, with people, there's always this chaotic element, so I never feel like I have like full control. And I guess also I have like feminine extrovert functions, so my ability to like push a tribe is really low in general. So that makes sense. But I moved out. I guess this is part of the freedom. I moved out really early on from my parents' house when I got my first job. I just been moving around like ever since. So I was like, I think my mindset for freedom is that my freedom is if like I can do everything. Like if I get all my SI things done, like I pay the bills, make money, all that. So like that part didn't seem as hard because I just had to do it to get my any freedom, I guess.
Okay. What about the actual SI? Like let's say you go to work and a boss is enforcing like a rule that makes absolutely no sense to you,
Oh,
and then when you try to question it or try to come up with a better solution, they'll be like, no, this is the rule, you need to follow it. It's like, restrictive in that sense. How would you react to that? Would you freak out? You know?
Um, I do admit I've always had like something against like SI rules, especially when they seem dumb to me. Like if my TI doesn't agree, like I questioned my parents a lot as a kid. Eventually, I didn't do it in front of their face as much, but every time I'm like, how can I get around this? And typically, if it's something that's easy, like it just takes less energy to just do it. But I'm also a programmer, and that is like one of the most SI things to do, like in terms of details. It's like I can have the NT to figure out how to do it, but the ST is what really matters to like actually do my code. So I think I've got like better at the ST over the years. But yeah, authority is kind of hard, and I do get pretty stressed when I program sometimes. So I do have the system to like take breaks and whatever. Um, but yeah, ST didn't feel. I thought it was NTST, so it didn't seem as hard. But I guess I can kind of see it nowadays.
Maybe because you did it for a living that you had training already, like because life kind of forced you into it. Like
Yeah,
as a programmer, you have to do the ST, right? So you're doing it every day. You have no choice, right? Or you get
yeah.
fired.
It's also double masculine. Oh, and I think Dave once said like masculine TI is like the most SI like function, like the stereotypical masculine SI, like those really strict people. Like masculine TI is like the most similar to it. So like I feel like I can like leverage my masculine TI to use my SI a little bit.
Gotcha. Um, okay, let's talk about your double masculine sleep since you already started this topic. So let's start with the masculine TI and then talk about your masculine SI after.
Yeah.
So how do you use your masculine TI? Like, do you do you correct people when someone's saying something that is like illogically inconsistent? You know, like do you jump and like correct them right away, or is it balanced with your FE? Like, you know, or you know,
I
like how do you use that?
I don't like conflict, so I try really hard nowadays, especially what I feel like masculine TI is one of those functions that society doesn't like naturally. So you
Yeah.
kind of just have to get used to, like, you get a lot of tried feedback when you have masculine TI, whether you like it or not. It's like, hey, if you don't like this. Um, so I would, yeah, I would use masculine TI a lot for that. For correcting people nowadays, I try to just play along. I kind of see it as if I don't like arguing with people nowadays. I used to be more argumentative. I know ENTPs are the argumentative type apparently. But usually when I prefer like the connection nowadays. So like if someone doesn't agree with me, or let's say like I'm really into OP for self-growth and someone isn't, like I actually have a friend who like doesn't really like talking about it. I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you want to talk about in terms of self-growth. We both like self-growth. I can talk about whatever little SI or whatever detail you want to talk about self-growth. I just move to where they want to talk about. I'll only correct people if they really ask for my masculine TI, or if I just feel like, no, I really need to just, there's no other way. I have to tell them.
Right. I think ENTPs. I mean, besides the fact that you know the traditional Myers-Briggs label for ENTPs is the debater, right? So the most argumentative type is probably you know ENTPs to begin with. But besides having masculine TI, you also have you're also an info dominant. So you know, like that urge to make sure that you're factually and logically accurate is gonna be welling up inside of you many times. So how do you push that down when someone is completely you know full of shit and you know it's like bugging the hell out of you, you know?
I've just been burned so many times from bad arguments that like I got kind of sick of it. Um, Especially when I thought I was TI first, I thought I was so bad with the tribe. That I was like, okay, I have to like get better at talking. Like I'm not gonna convince people to do anything if I don't leverage FE. I have to take like it's kind of dark, but sometimes like if you want to really convince people, you have to manipulate them, and you have to use whatever you like. Do it in a nice way. Like I don't want to be unethical about it, but like if I have to use FE instead of TI to manipulate people, fine. Like I've been a little brainwashed by a lot of David Shan's like self-help videos. So it's like, yeah, like you can't make your excuse if TI isn't working, you gotta use FE. And also like I leverage masculine TIs push on yourself. Usually like I usually know what I'm thinking pretty easily. Um, but like if I need to push to myself to another person, I'll push to myself most of the time. So I usually just leverage that.
How do you use your masculine SI? How do you experience it or use it?
I feel like I use it for like everything. I feel like my memory is pretty decent, so I was kind of surprised it was fourth. But I guess they did say masculine as no matter what is pretty has good memory.
Yeah.
As a kid, I always was. I think my sister would always lose things or forget things. As a kid, I was like, I never want to be that guy who like loses his keys or forgets his password or just incompetent in life because like they can't do the basic S things. So like I'll use that for like really important things. Like I have some routines, but I noticed that like I don't like to use SI for things that don't really matter. Like if there's a particular way to cook something, I'm like, questioning the recipe. You don't need these steps. I'm not gonna do them. So I'll like continue. So I'll slack off a lot of SI, but I use it for like just to survive daily life. I wouldn't be able to. I don't know what I would do. I'm tracking time all the time, so I'm really obsessed with time. And when I talk to feminine sensories, I'm like, how are you not just obsessed about tracking time? Like I know exactly what I did more or less the other day, and it like bugs me that I keep repeating this mistake.
And then what about when you put them together? Like, how do you experience that masculine ST sleep? It's fourth, so it's going to be your weak point essentially. But how do you experience that and use it?
Well, this is the part that really made sense of having sleep last. I did notice that when I would like try to process sleep, it would seem very dark. And I just thought it was like normal because I was NT and like I feel like with NT you can like see like the darkness of the world a lot easier than like let's say an SF.
Okay.
Just because the abstract and just the logic it, like makes a lot more sense. But like I did notice it was like really dark. I even did tell my friends sometimes how I was like afraid, even though I said I was an introvert. I said I was afraid to be alone with my own thoughts sometimes. Even though I was a TI, even though I was an introvert, I was like, I feel like I could do really dark stuff on my own. So like just nihilistic thoughts, all that stuff. That's like when it gets really dark.
Yeah.
And also just like sticking to routines and stuff and planning. That's still kind of hard. Like I'm a procrastinator, so yeah.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that that like that double masculine inner world is dark. because I was thinking about myself because I'm the same as you, right? I have
Yep.
sleep loss like you, and I was like, you know what? One of my favorite pastime, it's really dark, is I like to go to YouTube and watch like animals eating another animal alive. You know, like I like to go to like Kruger sighting. I don't know if you've seen that website. It's like a Kruger National Park. It's like a safari place in South Africa, and like it's really dark. Like sometimes there's like an antelope that's already half eaten, but it's still alive. So it's like trying to run and stuff, and then like the hyena or the lion's like eating its guts and stuff, and it's like twitching and shit. And I'm like enjoying watching this. You know, it's kind of sick, but it's like the double masculine sleep, right? Like like
Oh,
sometimes my girlfriend's sitting here beside me, and she'll turn around, she see me watching like a video of like a polar bear eating a seal alive or something, and I'm like, this is fantastic. Like
I've actually done that quite a few times. Not that particular site, but I've seen like I was like curious how good cats are at hunting. So I
yeah,
would watch those videos and then like, oh wait, some of them really suck at hunting. Some of them are really good. Like them
yeah.
eating birds and rats. And, like I see lions and yeah, I saw like a half. It was some pretty terrible videos, and I was like, I couldn't really stop watching. It was like midnight. I was watching this stuff. I thought it was my consume, but I do have consume first. I didn't feel like my consume super flexible. I just be curious.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, interesting. I do the same thing sometimes.
There you go, man. There you go. That double masculine sleep is fucked up. Like it's like fucked up shit. You know. Uh, anyways, but what about the other parts of the double masculine sleep? Like, how do you do your prioritization? Because that's part of the sleep processing is setting priorities. So how do you set priorities?
um, I do think I'd go in the animal ordering. So I thought I was a very big self preserver of energy, but I guess apparently I'm not. Right after I got my type, I noticed how much I was play blasting instead of sleeping. I was like, I had to post on Facebook group. I want my roommates here. I got to freak out with him, and I should meditate, but I'm not gonna meditate. My play blast comes out a lot when um, when people just bring up. I'm like, oh, I can do these things. Wait, I'm forgetting the question. How do I use my masculine sleep for stuff?
Yeah, like how do you set priorities with it? Like how do you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because you have ST sleep, right? So you're pretty much gonna be planning in which order you're gonna be doing things in your life essentially. So how do you set your priorities with that ST sleep?
I'm kind of obsessed with efficiency. So I'm always really annoyed of like little inefficiencies in my life. So I'm always trying to rework like how I brush my teeth, how I cook my food, how I do my work, like these little things. I do think I leverage the intuition and TI definitely. Like I have like a general idea of what my future should look like, or I want it to look like. There's just essentially the skills I build now. I want to apply for the future. I want to do self growth things. I want to be able to like. I don't like a lot of the SC stuff like fancy cars. I want to have like my own interests and hobbies and grow. So
Yeah.
a lot of that's building right now. But like then again, like if you ask me like what do I want to do in 2 years for a job, it's like, oh, we'll see what happens. Like like I know I'm a software developer, so I'm like, as long as there's interesting work, I'll do that. And I usually do rely on the work to like sort of ground me a bit. Because even I usually get like a 9 to 5 job with like weekends free, and then so I have a lot of free time to do whatever I want. Um, but it does get very detailed. One of my goals is just to kind of know SI what to do in every moment in my day. So there's that. And I guess my TI is just like, what do I think is worth living for, or what's worth in my life? And intuition, seeing the future, is really helpful with that. Okay, that was really vague, but
Well, no, it's all good. I think because you have the TEFE axis, then because you mentioned that 10 years from now, you're not really sure what you want to do, but whatever. When you get there, I guess then you'll find out, right? I think maybe because it's like that. What's that author's name? David Chan did a class on him. Cal Newport, like so
yep,
good they can't ignore you.
yep.
Like passion is overrated or something. Like I think for TIFE people, like I think when you're competent at something, that's kind of like your passion. Like that's
Yep.
that's gonna be like the area you're good at. So it's not necessarily like you plan 10 years from now what you're gonna want to do because essentially it's whatever you're most competent in 10 years from now that you're gonna love the most, right? So it's kind of like it's different from like the FI people who, like for me, I can like visualize like, okay, this is what I like, this is what I want to do, like using
Oh,
SI. But it's based on what I like, what I'm like, even if I'm shit at something but I like it, it's I will still do it. Even I'm competent at something, but I don't like it, like I'm not gonna do it. You know, like it's kind of like counterproductive. But you know, that's the control of the FI. But what about you? What is your TI truths? Do you have like any TI truths?
I've been thinking about revising these because I felt like they're very TIFE because I thought it was an IP. Essentially, I would have told you like work on yourself, help other people. Um, Probably something along those lines, like yeah, work on yourself, help other
Okay,
people,
hold on.
and keep healthy or
Based,
balanced.
based on your track record, your SI track record in the past,
Yep.
what would you say is a consistent truth about you?
Um, Try to be reliable to people, even though I'm pretty chaotic and in some of my goals don't always reach out. I try to be reliable to other people. If someone needs me, I can like reach out to them. It's sort of with play blasters pretty easily. I've been told I'm a pretty good listener.
Yeah.
And when people need me, I can just jump on and help them. And I'm usually pretty good at like the basic things of like, EPs are usually bad at like keeping schedules and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I actually feel like I'm pretty good at like keeping a time and stuff.
Oh,
So
that's good.
actually, that's motivated by like I want especially if I'm meeting with someone all the time, I want it to be like, hey, we're meeting a week at this time. I'm like, okay, zero talking in that time, and then I just show up. Like I want that trust between me and the person. Like know that I'll just show up, and even if they worry, like they can message me, but I don't want to like have to message them and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be there, right? That'll be yeah. A lot of people feel like I'm like way more processed than like a sleep lasts. So I don't know. That still kind of surprises me. But usually, like Tony will probably be there for you, even though he's kind of awkward and maybe he'll like have to try sometimes because he's still trying with himself. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, you're pretty close in the middle though. You're like almost like it's like 49-51 almost, you know, with the
yep.
double activated FE, right? Um, what about your energy levels? So you have sleep last. Do you get to the point where you're like you just completely burnt out and then you just collapse or like not collapse, but maybe hide yourself from the world for like several days because you just overextended yourself and now you're like dead exhausted, you know? You just want to hold yourself up in a room. You have double masculine sleep too, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's like a big FU in your forehead is pretty much like, you know, when that happens. Does it ever happen to you?
So one thing I've noticed recently was like I think I posted on the Facebook group how like consume first, sleep last makes it so like it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I still like want to consume more and not sleep, even though I know it's not good for me. So that
Okay.
happens all the time. And I talk to type twins, and they're like, "Yeah, it's such a hard time just going to sleep because they literally said we're consume whores." And I was like, "That's a great way to phrase it." Yeah, I am totally that. Um, and then I thought like this made more sense, but like for video calls and stuff or just hangouts, I always try to be like the last one remaining or one of the last people. And I always thought that it was just because I was introvert and I was scared of the tribe. But I guess you do need some play plus energy to just last out. And some of it's like curiosity, some of it's just like, oh, play energy and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I can like stay on video calls for a really long time apparently. But yeah, at nighttime, I do notice that like I'll stay up really late. Um, yeah, I'll stay up really late for people, and I'm more okay with that. But yeah, I can stay up like 1, 2, 3 a.m. a lot of times with people if they really need me to, and I'll just stay up on my own because I'm consuming, and it's really unbalanced. And then like in high school and college, I was always sleep deprived because I would just do homework really late at night, and I was like, oh my god, what's wrong with me? And it's a vicious cycle when you don't get sleep, like physical sleep.
Yeah, I guess putting on the brakes is your challenge, you know. Uh,
Yeah,
you're still young, I think. How old are you? You're
28.
oh yeah, you're Asian, so you look you don't age. Uh, okay, well you're young, but you're not like super young, but you're young.
Yeah,
Um, okay, okay. I guess you know since you're 28, you have probably learned a lot of stuff about life already at this point.
hopefully,
You're closing to 30 now, so there's gonna be a different chapter. But you're about to close the book of your 20s, right? So, uh, what do you feel like you have left to finish in your 20s before you move on to the next chapter? I know this is not op related, but just
Oh, hmm. I don't use, I don't use, well, obviously, this isn't surprising. I don't exactly set goals for like once I hit 30.
yeah,
As an EP is probably not too surprising. I do see life as more like a process of like, yeah, I don't really like aiming for goals. It's just like, I want these sort of skills and the way of life because there's so many ways like you can aim for a goal and still have a miserable life. That's not what I really want. Like sometimes like especially with the SI, like if you're not SI doing well in certain areas of your life, you're not gonna like live a fulfilling life. Like you could be really successful, burn yourself out, and just other things. I guess the people part is like probably something I need to work on eventually. So I'll probably eventually find someone to be with and maybe start a family. Even though my EP is like freedom and stuff like that. But I guess I should probably like work a little harder in those areas. Maybe the SF too.
It's a weird contradiction in my opinion because I didn't start dating till later on in my life, and I was always kind of like a commitment phobe, when it comes to dating also. But like, it was kind of weird. Like when I started dating long term, it was like I got more freedom to do the other things in life. It's kind of weird because like I think when you're doing so many things at once, then it's hard to like focus on other stuff. But it seems like the more doors you close, the more you can focus. I don't know. It's like a weird paradox almost. You know, and that's just what I noticed. I don't know if that resonates with you, but it was just like a weird paradox I noticed.
I'm wondering which doors you're talking about. Like,
I'll give some concrete examples. Like for me, okay, I because I was in a long term commitment, then I closed the doors with dating other girls essentially, right? Um, but because I closed the dating door, now I can focus on the career door, right? And then like when I was working, when I had a stable job, working, like I still work in the same field, like I'm in the fitness industry. It kind of like opened another door for me, which is like now I can work on my passion project, like the ENFP mail channel, and I have a travel blog. So it's kind of like I find it interesting that when you close one door, another door will open, and then you can focus on that door. I don't know, like it's kind of this observation that I made. So I was wondering, have you closed any doors in your life, and then something else opened up, like completely, like, oh, what the hell? What is this?
I mean, abstractly that makes sense. I'm not spending that much effort on the dating side, so it's like I don't magically get more time if I like be with someone. But for other things, I mean, I've switched jobs a lot, so that means I had to stop doing that job and to go to this other job and do these things. Um, there've been probably a few people in my life that have gone in and out. So stop talking to certain people and talking more to other people. That's helps. But I do see like the chain of events. I see that as like a lot of the SI building. Once you actually start focusing on something, then you gain more skills, you gain more information, and then that opens other doors. Like yeah, I've met some people in the personality community, and like which I didn't really expect to meet. I was like on Reddit before this. I was talking to my friends and bothering them. So I see like I do see it happening, but probably not as fast as the way you see it.
Okay, well, I mean, basically, the conversation we're having right now is an NESI conversation. So, with the NE, you have a lot of options that you can perceive coming from the future,
Yep.
or even right now. And then your SI pretty much is your decision to narrow things down on any of those specific areas of interest that you have, or areas that you want to build a skill set. So, I'm just curious what your chain of events looks like, and like I know you mentioned earlier that you don't have like a goal per se, but uh, is there something that you want to happen? Like, is there something that you would like? Like, it doesn't have to be like career or dating or career or whatever. Like, is there any area of your life where you want to, you know, build something concretely?
Um, Eventually, I might want to start like helping people a bit more seriously. I do have a lot of friends who like I talk to, I meet, and I help them a bunch, and like, oh, thanks, Tony, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could like get a little better at this and like do it more professionally or something. Um, but a lot of these are just like any sort of like ideas, like maybe, but I haven't SI like committed, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's one area of interest. I am in technology, so sometimes a certain thing with technology, like I could be a freelancer, I could start my own company. I could like there's AI and all that stuff coming out now, so I could do something in that. Maybe do something more in OP. Although OP, I'm like hesitating to take too seriously in a sense. Like I can consume a lot and process it, but as far as like doing something seriously with it, like creating something, it's another step I'm not sure if I want to take at the moment.
Yeah.
Just because of the time, just the time, and I don't know if it'll be worth spending all that time on that. Just things like that.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. The thing with the NE though is that there's so many options available, kind of like what you just listed just right now, right?
Yep.
But it's so hard to narrow down which one you would want to do. Have you ever like had help from an IJ who is NI lead to just like tell you, hey, you know what, just focus on this shit, you know? Like, have you? You're an ENTP, right? You probably have a lot of INFJ friends or even INTJs, you know.
A lot of INFJs or INFJs because they're not officially typed or anything. I actually do meet with one like weekly, and we have discussions about like for growth experience. And yeah, a lot of times I'm like, damn, like I didn't do any planning, I didn't build anything, I barely got through this week. And they're like, can you just like narrow down and focus? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll get better. But hopefully soon I'll get a little better at that. But yeah, talking to an NI dom is like really, it's like the standards are so different.
You know, I always find ENTPs to be really weird. Like from what I can tell, where ENTPs really shine is like when you guys have an idea for like some kind of tech related things or invention, and then you create a prototype for it, and then you test it out in real life to make sure that it actually works. And then once you know it works and you have like the basic framework, and then you go like sell it to someone to finish it up, because you're not gonna be the one that's gonna be perfecting it. Like you give it to like an ISTP or something, you know. But you have like the first foot in the door and the first rough prototype. So do you think that's something that like makes sense for you? Like that kind of like sounds like appealing, you know? Because that's just what I've seen like a lot of ENTPs do who have done really well, you know?
I have noticed that working together with other people has allows me to build bigger things. Like I'm helping one of my friends at his project right now, and with our all three of us are programmers, and yeah, we're building something that like it'll take me a long time to build on my own, and they have more experience in certain areas. But yeah, there's definitely some parts of business that I wouldn't really enjoy, and yeah, I noticed when I'm at work, we get assignments, and once I'm done with like the 80% part where it's all fun, and the rest is like 20% cleanup, my productivity just slows down so much. I just don't want to do all these like minor little things sometimes. So yeah, hiring an IJ or just some other person to finish some of that would probably be helpful. I do feel like a lot of times at work, I'm more like this very flexible piece that just fits where people need me to fit. Um, Better than like I'm the best at like one particular thing sometimes.
So you're like the floater then? Like you're the one that like, you know, covers for everyone. Like let's say you have a missing piece here today, that's gonna be your role. You know, there's a missing piece here. You're now this is gonna be your role. You're the person that kind of like joins things together. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I use the FE to make sure the teamwork is there because yeah, I notice a lot of people don't really do well with the vibe or they make it worse. So I'm like, oh man, like you have to preserve these relationships. And then yeah, my other job, like when I finish my work early, I'm like, hey, do you need me to do anything? Like I can help someone else on the team struggling. And I was like, oh, can you do this for me? Like, okay, sure. Um, yeah, I'm usually better as a helper than like not a helper.
So you prefer to take the support role as opposed to the leadership role. Does that sound
Yeah,
somewhat?
yeah.
Um, you have feminine NE. Do you tend to forget concepts and patterns that you've gathered?
Um, Kind of like I do use the masculine SI to and masculine TI to track the logic
Yeah.
and just the facts that like I can remember things like I don't if I feel like I don't have to remember something fully, I can like have SI anchor points, just like okay, if this leads to this, and I can kind of rederive certain parts. Um, and I can usually realize if I've heard a concept before, but sticking to a concept and like keeping my brain all the time is a little harder. Sometimes with things like OP it's easier, but like I know like in a lot of productivity systems, and it sounds like NI, people are like, think about your future, think about your one goal that you want to accomplish and all that, and that'll motivate you to do every day. And I was like, this is really exhausting to me. So like SI works a lot better where like I'd rather just know like 10 good things I should do every day that gets me along the right path than like one NI goal that's constantly driving me to move my body forward. It's like really exhausting to do the NI way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like as I get older, because typically if you're an NE lead, you're gonna have a lot of NI lead friends, right? And a lot of their advice is really good and it makes a lot of sense. But then I think the more you really dig into the NI advice, the more you realize it doesn't really work for you. You know,
Yeah.
because like it's not the right fit for your personality, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, you can take some aspects of it, but you can never really use the full system, you know.
Yep.
um Now you have anti-consume and you are an anti person. Let's start with the consume first. So the kind of stuff that you consume, you said you're flexible, but is there like do you prefer consuming like science based stuff or like anti?
Yeah, typically nerdy, logical sort of things. Like I was an engineering major. Um, I was like, and it went to like this fancy math high school. So like a lot of the math science stuff, I don't consume as much nowadays. But like if I hear an interesting, like I buy a lot of Amazon products, especially for health products. So
Yeah.
there's ever like this new chemical or something that I'm interested in, like I'm totally fine just researching it and go like, oh, these are the benefits. So I'm not really scared of researching NT stuff. Um, OP, like a lot of it, like there's a lot of logic and a logical framework I could build on. So that's pretty fun. Typically, the easiest things to consume are like things that don't actually have to work fully. Like programming has to work fully. Like you have to know every little semicolon, every little thing. But OP, it's like more flexible. It's like you don't have to have it perfect. And self-help, those are also like not as like they're just concepts that are very flexible. They're not like the ST that's gonna punch you in the face if you get it wrong. Um, yeah. SC is pretty unforgiving. Like, I remember Dave was like, yeah, I can understand the concept of like building something from Home Depot, but when I'm actually at the store, do I get like the 1 foot piece of wood, the 2 feet piece of wood? Like, I don't know. This is the S. This is the part that I can't get wrong. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The ST has to be perfectly accurate. Um, because you're NT lead, do you find that you struggle with the SF? Like, because you're so
Yeah.
nerdy, like
Yeah.
do you not get taken seriously because you have trouble with that being SF cool, would you say?
Yeah, I knew really really early on I wasn't SF cool. I knew what SF cool was. Like you could just see like the stereotypical like jocks in high school on TV,
Yeah.
because that's where I learned it from. Yeah, I realized I wasn't gonna do that. Plus, I didn't like care for it. I didn't care for SF, and with TI first, like I didn't really care for um being popular for reasons I didn't respect, I guess. So I'm surprised I have friends sometimes based on my way of getting friends. Like what FE helps, but most of my friends like found me. They were mostly like, hey, like I was a loner at school, and then like people would come up to me, and then every now and then I'll be like, why is this person hanging out with? Why does this person keep talking to me? Eventually, I just realized they're my friends. But I've never been like the really showy. I've peacocked SF. In high school, I worked out really hard, and I got like abs, and like we played this game called handball. So in the summer I would go shirtless. And I was like, whoa, that guy looks really good.
Yeah.
So I peacocked SF.
Did you enjoy peacocking it? Like, did you like the
Um,
reaction that you got?
yeah. Oh, there was this one guy. Like I was really bad at handball. But like it was mostly endurance and stuff. And now when I reflected on Play Blast, yeah, I'm the guy who like doesn't get really skillful at technique because I didn't really. People just told me to hit the ball. And that wasn't like technical enough for me. Like I was like, how do I put my arm back this way? And do I do this? And do I do this? Like, tell me exactly what you mean by hit the ball. The SC people are just like, yo, you just do this. I'm like, I don't understand. But there's this one time in
You're
senior,
overthinking it. You're overthinking it is what's happening.
everyone was that's so like everyone my whole life I've been told I'm an overthinker, and that just like added to me thinking I'm TI first.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you overthinking this? There's this one time this guy like insulted me on the handball court, and like I knew that in terms of like academics, I was better than him, so I had that cocky thing. But then I beat him in the handball, and I was like so happy
Yeah.
because he seemed like this typical SF like kind of guy, and I was like, yeah, screw you, like NT man.
It's kind of funny that you brought up that, like, you beat that SF guy, right? And it made you so happy.
Yeah,
I remember when I was in high school, I was with my buddies, and like I hang out with the most diverse group. I have ST friends, I have NT friends, I have NF friends. So I have like the whole like spectrum, right? So we were playing basketball against like the people in the basketball team, like the jocks of the jocks, right? It was 3-on-3, and it was like a basketball tournament. And I think partway through the tournament, we started beating them. And like I was thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? Like this shouldn't happen. This should not happen. We should be getting like killed so bad right now. But me and my friends were actually like winning. That it got to the point the other team started panicking because their friends are making fun of them, right? They're like, oh, look at this, those nerds are kicking your ass. Like, what the hell? So it's like it like I'm thinking now, like maybe people who are nerdy can be good at sports. I mean, yeah, no, maybe some are not, but if you're kinesthetic, I think you do have it in you to be good at physical activities. You just need to trust the process and don't overthink it.
Mm.
You know, like that's just like my thought process. I feel like we ended up losing, but I felt that we sabotaged ourselves. We lost by 1 point. We could have easily kick their ass if we had taken it seriously. But it was just like a weird like eye-opening experience for me. I was like, and also like when you have NE, I think it's like an advantage when it comes to sports because I remember vividly when I was playing basketball in the basketball court, and I would have low self-esteem, well not low self-esteem, low self-confidence when it comes to how well I would play in sports. But I remember one time I don't know where it came from, but like I projected using my NE how I was gonna move to the court and weave through people, and then I actually executed it, and I was like, and I did it a few times, and people were like, "What the fuck? We can't stop this guy." And then like no, and then later on I sabotaged myself because I was like, "There's no way this is gonna keep working." But obviously it does because if you're playing against SF people, chances are there's some kind of ESTP or ESFP or something, and they don't see the end, right? They have end last, so they don't see the future. They're better than you when it comes to reacting in the present moment. When it comes to when the ball's being thrown and you need to catch it or intercept it. But when it comes to like planning the exact movements and how you're gonna psychologically outmaneuver them, they can't even read you, right? So it's like for me, it's like holy shit, like you know, I think
Yeah.
more N people can do well in sports if you just use the N and trust that the N can get you the results that you want. So it's like GSP. I don't know if you watch UFC.
Oh, I actually watched a few because I got into it like Israel Adesanya. By the time we got to him, I watched like a bunch of UFC stuff because I was really into ISTPs and stuff.
You see an
Because
ice.
I was an INTP. Oh, yeah, he's an ISTINI. Consume Blast Plays. No,
Oh
Sleep
really?
Blast Play Consume.
Oh my God! Every single UFC fighter is an ISTP. Like John Jones and
Yeah.
Conor McGregor. They're all ISTPs. Um, okay, that's interesting. Anyways, George St. Pierre is an INFJ, and he's like the greatest, one of the greatest fighter of all time, right? If not the greatest. And he's using his NT to beat his opponents, right? And I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh my God, if you just trust your N, you could really dominate, in sports, assuming that you built the bare basic minimum skills.
Yeah. I still think it takes like a really special person. Like you need like enough other stuff. Like Eminem, he's like INFJ, but he has like SNT like I think double activated, and like it all worked out. Like he managed to do the SNT well enough that
Yeah.
like at that point the N just took over. But otherwise, like if you're just a normal N guy, you might get your ass kicked by S in a normal sort of situation if you're not especially talented or especially like using it that well.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be the normal N guy.
Yeah.
Then you have no competitive advantage, right? Um, okay, let me ask you a question about your SF then. You have SF Blast. So what is your SF Blast like?
I was watching Mr. Rogers the other day because
Uh,
in one of the videos it said he was an INTP, some sort of Ti+Si, I think. And it was when he was trying to get funding for like Channel 13, and it was like the most SF thing. And I was like, that's an INTP? That's so SF last. Like he would just talk about the value that he brings to the children, how much he loves it. And there was some TI, like, yeah, TI, I handle all the writing and stuff, but it's for the children. And I was like, well, like I don't do that. I definitely don't go to that level. I feel like I leverage my NF more than my SF, especially since it's double activated and I have like N first. Like I can see the abstractions of like the social landscape, and I'm usually not that pushy on it. As far as like blasting out stuff, I really don't think I do it that much. I feel like I'd rather rely on T and N most of the time. If it's about something like F related, I'll use like NF a little bit, but SF blast is like something that doesn't seem natural to me, I feel like.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've watched like ISFJs or ESFJs use their SF's Blast because you have the same functions with them, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll go up to people and be like, okay, this is the right outfit to wear. This is the nice one, or this interior design is what looks good for your apartment, living room. Um, like so that kind of stuff.
I
Do you ever teach people that stuff? Like, no?
I tell people only if there's some N associated with it. Like, oh, this is the right. thing to wear, this is the right thing to like eat because of the N reasons, the NT reasons. Like I did all the consumer research. Here it is, and like, but the normal SF, like, oh, it's just I don't like SF.
Yeah, because I was observing some SF, like ESFJs and ISFJs talk about this stuff, right? Like, for example, at one point I was working, when I was in college, I did a special events planning and marketing course. And it was like, I liked the course because it was practical. And we actually had to run an actual special events with, like, we had to raise funds, we had to sell tickets, we have to execute the event itself, operation wise, we need to have the chairs, tables, the lights, So the person we were working with was a professional image consultant that used to work with Bill Clinton and a lot of like celebrities. And she was like, I think she was an ESFJ because it seems like she has people problems. But I was watching her carefully and I didn't know at the time what she was doing, but now I know it's SF Blast because she used to go out to me and she said, okay, you have a small head. So if you have a small head, then you need to wear V-necks because V-necks will look good in your small head. People with big heads need to wear crew necks, and people with small heads wear V-necks. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I was an NP nerd, right? So I had no clue about this stuff. But like, I was like learning, right? I was like, holy shit, this is like gold, I had no clue how to buy clothes before. I was like completely like stupid when it comes to this. And she's like, okay, based on your skin tone, you are an autumn skin tone. So if you're an autumn skin tone, then you need to wear clothes that resemble the color of the leaves, like maroon or forest green. I was like, oh wow, this shit is gold, Now I know how to buy clothes because of that woman, like, but
Oh.
so can you see yourself like doing something like that? Where you're like, okay, yeah, this is what's nice. It doesn't have to be visual though, because you're audio, right? So it could be with music. Like you tell people, hey, that's a nice music that you're playing. I don't know if you have any friends that plays instrument, but you were like, yeah, this is the right way to make it sound good.
I only do it based on my own personal taste and how I like analyzed it, but like it doesn't always feel SF or I don't have a good explanation. Like I also just mostly wear V-necks, but I was just like, I feel like I just look at the mirror enough times. I'm like, okay, I think I look better in V-necks. So actually I recently just bought like 11 V-necks because they were on sale.
Yeah.
I just stock up on them like crazy and they're like cheap. So I just buy. I'm like, because some people wear pajamas all the time. So usually my pajamas look worse than my outerwear. But I'm like, wait, why can't I just buy the same clothes if they're all cheap? Like,
Yeah.
just wear V-necks indoors, outdoors. There's no problem. They always look good. So I have
You
like weird. I have weird SI like I like to wear a lot of sweatpants a certain way, and I like to dress a certain way like all the time.
Yeah.
As far as audio, like even though I'm audio, I'm actually not good at music. I didn't play an instrument as a kid. I just never got into like the logic and math of music. I feel like if I really wanted to, I could. I just don't. But for music, I'm just like, I noticed that I always tell people I like upbeat music. Like I love music that gives me energy. I don't like the slow music. And being play blast, that makes sense too. I'm like, yeah, I need this to help me work. Like I don't want this like mellow, sad, like I'll lose energy if I listen to that.
So you like hip hop, like rap music and like
Not usually rap as much, but usually like hip hop, like the 90s or 2000s, a lot of those like really bad pop music I will listen to sometimes.
Yeah.
But also I'll just listen to like no lyric songs on YouTube that are just really instrumental, really loud, really like fast paced.
I see.
Yeah. But
like house and techno and those kind of stuff, EDM.
Maybe I don't know the music genres that well. I just look it up. I'm like, I like it, so I'll listen to this.
Okay, got it. I think it's funny that you have that FE though, because that FE really absorbs the emotion from the sensory sources. I feel like, whether that be people or whatever sensory sources, because when you said you cannot work because there's some mellow music in the background, you feel tired, but the upbeat music makes you feel energetic. Like for me, it doesn't really affect me, because I have FI, so it's like I could let it affect me if I wanted to, but if I don't want it to affect me, I could have some shield towards it. So that's interesting with the FE. So since we're on the topic of FE, talk about how you experience your FE. It's also feminine, so you're gonna be more flexible with the tribe or submissive with the tribe. So talk about.
Yeah, I don't really like confrontation at all. I did an interview with Karen, and Karen kind of called me out, and I was like, so I see that you're willing to run away from the tribe if you have problems, but do you ever confront them? I'm like, I don't really like doing that. Part of it is good because it if I push on the masculine TI, it's like, how do I get better so I can adjust? Like, I'm not gonna rely on the other person to adjust. I can adjust. But every now and then, it's like, I think recently I noticed that like if I've been doing more emotional processing lately. I noticed for certain people, for certain events, I would get like emotions, like a lot of like emotional pain afterwards. I was like, okay, this is something I have to confront or something I have to like process. Other than that, like I'm usually very like flexible to tribe. Um, I like to like use play energy a lot to like just make people laugh and be jokey and like just sense it's really my NF is really like FE and especially NE. It's like very gentle. It's very subtle. It doesn't like to force people. Like especially, I don't like to control people. Obviously, like ENTP doesn't like control, but I tend to abstract a lot of things, and sometimes I might try to get people in my net when several months before they even met me. I talked to one of my type twins, Alex, and he was like, "Yeah, like even though I'm not the most like loud person, it's like a lot of people like might know that I'm an important part of the group because I just help people like mesh together. Like a lot when I'm with my high school friends, I know a lot of them and like me and them have had really close connections one on one. And then when we're in a group, I see like this sort of telepathic connection of like I'm here because Tony's here. I'm here because Tony's here. Like these other assholes maybe, but like I know Tony's gonna be there because Tony's always here. Um, yeah, I'm very flexible. I'm willing to like listen to people, especially consume. Like, yeah, consume definitely goes for a blast. If I had to go from consume just to listen to you, play energy every now and then to joke. Blast tends to get bad results, so I don't do blast as much. But then I'll just go back to consume and play a lot.
You earlier you talked about your emotions and talking it out. For you to process your feelings, do you have to talk it out with people then?
Um, so I'll say this in two parts. I did hear the FE, like Demon FE, like talk it out. Um, After I watched that, I did try recording myself and just listening to myself. I noticed that like it actually made me feel a lot better, more than I expected.
Oh,
And for me, like I'm someone who like doesn't even know how to cry most of the time. I was like, I tried crying and like I start laughing when I see sad things. So I was like, something's wrong here. I thought it was F last, so it made sense to me. But yes, talking to myself and listening to it does help sometimes. I don't like relying on other people to ask for help. So with my FE, I don't usually use it to get things from people directly. Like I want like intangibles, but a lot of intangibles are like things that the person does not supply to me. Like I get my skills of like helping people. That's one of them. Or I just get enjoyment of talking to this person, connecting with them. Those are things that like, you know, it's not like I'm asking for $5 for help. These are things that you're just giving me naturally from our interaction. Um, but I think I am using my NF nets to kind of like just get enough people that I connect with and help that I can be there for them. And then I get kind of satisfied with just talking to them and connecting with them. And I'll get my FE talking out for naturally that way in little bits from a wide net.
I see. So you spread it out. You don't give it to one person. Like when you're talking about your feelings, then you.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of times I don't like talking about my feelings at all with people.
But,
Um,
but because it's FE, do you think that your emotions are not personal?
I never really liked the idea of having emotions. I really connected with the TI lead of like emotions are dumb, bottle your emotions. Like you have to like no matter if you, because I do kind of still feel like it's kind of true. Like no matter what, you have to get past it. Like first you have to do the F of like feeling and processing, but then after you do the T of like what do you do to move on. So it's like I'm like, can I just skip the F step and go straight to T? Like that would just be a lot easier. Um, yeah, I really am been pushing myself more to get better at processing my own emotions on my own without relying on other people because relying on yourself does seem to be like the most useful skill in a lot of ways. No
Yeah.
matter what, there's gonna be certain situations where you have to rely on yourself. So, and I don't have to bother people. I don't like bothering people about it.
Well, I think that's more like a perception that you're bothering people when you're talking about your feelings. For all you know, they might enjoy talking to you about it. You know what I mean?
That's the imbalance I have with people. I can tell some people would probably want me to open up more to them,
Yeah.
and like a balance I have to like open up like to like balance more. But like that's something I'm willing to like slowly bounce over time. But like, yeah, like no matter what, there's gonna be times where like, let's say you're sad at like 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and
Yeah.
then you can like text your friend or something, but then they're busy, and it's like, what do you do then? You have to process on your own or something. You have to do something.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's I have FI, so for me it's not a problem, right? So, but you have FE though, so I do notice with heavy FE users, they do need to talk like have like a emotional diarrhea with people, basically.
Mm.
Especially if you're lead FE. I've seen that so many times. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to listen to people as long as like, well, there's a certain cases where it goes too far. But I'm happy to listen to people, but I'm really bad at being the talker a lot of the time. I have a few friends who I open up a bit more. I think they're INFJs. It's a little more natural. But other than that, like I really don't like it. And if I do open up to you, it's probably a big compliment in some of the cases.
That's good. So since we're talking about play, FE and play. So let's talk about your NF play now. Um, it's in a savior state. So how do you use NF play? Like, how does it work? Like,
Um, I remember when I was like, I guess I was seeing my TI as a kid, and maybe this was me peacocking to sleep.
yeah,
But when I was a kid, I would notice I would say TI and people didn't like it. And then so I was like, I would like picture EPs, especially like ESFPs or something, who are like the cool, relaxed guy who's like, hey, you want to go like do this really cool SE thing? And like, yeah, that sounds really fun. I was like, oh, those guys have such good social skills. Like, I'd be really good to learn something from that.
yeah,
So at that point, I just like developed a persona of like people knew I was like people. The compliment I've never had a hard time receiving was that like I seem smart to people. So like with my FE, like some people who have play energy and are seen as like dumb or shallow. So like there's that risk. But for me, like I didn't think of that as a risk. I was like, oh, people will just be confused. So like, wait, Tony isn't dumb or shallow. He's acting really idiotic and playful, and I like that contradiction. So I developed that. So if like most of my friends, I can just like make them, I can listen or I can try and make them laugh. And like when I text message, I used to do like K, hey, bye, like really short messages. But now it's always like really like any really playful, like thought out messages of jokes and stuff. And I tend to make people laugh that way. And
yeah.
then when I listen, like if there's a really somber thing, I'll use any to just think of a joke as well. So it's like really just super, super playful.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you definitely have play savior because talking to you is pretty like it's pretty back and forth, you know. Although, you know, I think that your specific type is probably the type I've interviewed the most, like the masculine, feminine, ENTP, consume, play, blast, lead. But
Chris,
you guys are all completely super different though. Like I haven't like every single ENTP I've interviewed that with the exact same animals as you has been completely different.
I related most of your Curtis Lewis interview. Prem, not as much. And Blay, I was still confused because the first time you guys said it, it seemed like he was like visual or like FM instead of like MF.
I feel like he's visual. I really don't think he's.
Yeah. But I take that as I don't think that's correct. But like for like Prem and Curtis I related to his thinking process and his energy. And
Yeah.
also Alex in the group, I actually watched Alex's videos and he like sounds a lot like me and he like thinks a lot like me. I'm like, yo, I know exactly what you're going through. You're like a lot you're
Alex? Who's Alex again?
he's in the group, Alex, like well, I won't say his last name, you can find him, but yeah, he's also another one.
Another
He
one.
wasn't interviewed by you though.
Was that?
He wasn't interviewed by you though.
I interviewed him.
You didn't.
Oh, okay, okay. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Prem. I think Prem is because he's Indian. Like he's from India, so he's you know.
Yeah, the culture thing is like me and Alex have really similar upbringings, and we're both Asian, like not Indian Asian, and it's like yeah. So there's that factor.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
No, Prem is super Indian. That's why. I think that's why he's like, you know, different from you guys.
I felt
Um,
like, so with FE, you can kind of see what people value socially, and so when I was growing up, I knew I could develop different personas to like be more popular in certain ways, like the SF popular or whatnot. But like a lot of the SF strategies kind of stick into me, so I never really wanted to resort to that. It seemed like Prem is using some strategies that I wouldn't use. And he's just, but when I talk to him, it seems like he has the same animal and type and all that stuff.
right.
Just he's using his, he's assigned to use it in different ways. I think he's leveraging blast more than me. I leverage consume more. He just seems more confident and like he's like, oh, people want this, people want a confident guy, and like, yeah, I have a hard time doing that. So,
Do you think that's cultural because you're Asian?
yeah, that's part of it. So I'd love to see like a lot of like more data and see like how similar it is. Between like if there were like 50 primes and 50 me's and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Asian culture definitely makes you like not speak up as much, be more soft spoken. Yeah, Indian, yeah, since I'm a software developer, yeah, the Indian ones typically try rise up more.
Yeah.
while the like Chinese ones tend to be more like just stay under the radar.
Yeah, I guess so. When I was younger, I was the stay under the radar kind of guy. But as I got older, I got really aggressive. I don't know where it came from. I just got sick of being that guy, that's like a pushover,
Yep.
like the weak Asian person, at work. So
Yep.
so yeah, that's kind of like the direction I decided to go to. But speaking of which, I have a friend that looks exactly like you.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
you guys even sound the same. So I thought like talking to
Found
you.
another types when.
You know what? I actually got the vibe that he was an ENTP too when I was talking to him. I was like, I wonder if he's an ENTP, like, because he's kind of like socially awkward, but then like when we talk, it's kind of like, it's fine. When I'm talking to him, it's fine, but I can tell there's like a certain level of social awkwardness to him.
Yep.
I think he's blast last though. I think he's consume play sleep blast, and his consume is amazing. It's like amazing consume. Like it's like the best consume I've ever seen. You know, like when I talk to him, he's like absorbing everything I say. I'm like, holy shit! Like this is like amazing consume.
You're not supposed to absorb everything someone says.
Well, the thing is, I have consumed demon, right? So
Oh,
I do
yeah.
I do absorb, but not everything. But I am info dominant, so I'll ask you the same question again if there's something that I need more
I,
clarification.
I find it really easy to absorb like everything people say.
I, for me, it depends on who I'm talking to.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be some exceptions. Well, especially if I don't want to consume what they're saying, I'll just be like I don't want to hear this. I guess also it's like ST, like you're saying a list of 100 SI details of like I don't want to memorize. But other than that, like I always feel like it's not hard to listen to people. But I have a friend who I think is sleep blast, and I'm starting to see his steam and consume all the time. I'm like, I give him something to read. He's like, I don't want to read this, Tony. I'm like, what? Like, how hard is it to read something?
Yeah, yeah. That's a funny observation. My sister can't read either. Like my consume last INFJ sister.
Oh,
I bought her a book, and she said it's been 8 years. I've only read 20 pages. She ended up listening to the audiobook, and that's how she finished the book.
oh, yeah. I go for audiobooks. Like, I try really hard to listen to things at like 3 times speed or 2 times speed or 4 times speed. Like, I'm greedy with my consuming that way. I'm like, if it's 2 hours, I can make half an hour. That's fine.
Wait, you can listen at 4x speed, and you're okay?
I've been listening. So 2 times speed is like the minimum, and then at 3 times or 4 times speed, it depends on the contents and how well the person's speaking it. If it's like self-help stuff, that's really like 90% the same most of the time. So it's like, yeah, you don't really like. I have Dave and Shant's audios at 3 times speed on my phone, also some other sleep lessons. So like, it takes 15 minutes to listen to Dave and Shan. So I've listened to them like 20 times already, my audios or more. It's just I'm taking advantage of just audio processing.
Okay, I don't remember which video this was, but I think it was Dave who said something like he doesn't know what he's consuming or something. Like he doesn't know what he values. I forgot what he said. It was one of the videos that he had lately. But you're the opposite. So you're consuming a lot of stuff, but like, what are you doing with the stuff you consume? Because you have sleep blast, right? So you're not processing or you're not blasting. You know.
Uh, I mean, going just to the basic definition, I look at the any concepts and I put it against my logic. I guess I filter out with the TI, and it makes that's why I also think it's super flexible because if I can find some reason why I'm interested in what you're saying, I can just like consume it like pretty easily.
Can you consume stuff that you don't care about?
That's harder. That's why like when I was a kid, I would try to be like someday I'm gonna have to consume things that I don't want to consume. I need to figure out ways to be interested in these things. So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to solve that problem of like, okay, if it's like some maybe stupid SF thing that I don't care about, like I could maybe think of the logic, the NT behind the SF. Like, ooh, now it's interesting. Like the thing when you're talking about like the V-necks and the colors, like I don't want to like just memorize all that stuff necessarily, but I'm like, all right, if I can get to the theory, I'll consume my own and I'll internalize everything. I'll be all right, fine, I got
That's
it.
probably where TI is coming along. Because the TI stuff is what I struggle the most. When I'm learning TI concepts, I'm like, I have no fucking clue what's happening. Like it's gone. But I'm good at translating. When you speak NF, NT, SF, or ST, those are different languages essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I'm pretty good at translating those languages to other people. Like for example, like my super NF sister would say something that's completely NF, and I can translate to someone what they said in like layman's term.
Mm.
Like that's kind of like, or like if someone says something SF, I can like translate to like to NT, you know, like I'm good at translating that stuff. But when it comes to like TI stuff, I'm like, I have no freaking clue, no clue, like zilch, like it's just the hardest thing to me. The TI is the one that I just I can't do it, you know.
Well, that's okay. We'll grow in our demons. But yeah,
I
I'm
don't even
glad.
have, I don't even have TI. I don't have that function. Yeah, I don't have it. So, anyways, back to your NF play. Are you like are you kind of hippie-ish too, like in a way?
I'm hippie when I buy like health products. Like I'm gonna try like all these crazy things. Like I'm a really big Amazon addict. Well,
Like
like
supplements or something or what?
supplements, just um I had like this air massager. Well, maybe that's not as NF. I have tried some of the more stereotypical NFs. Like there was like this nexus around your neck that's supposed to like prevent like electromagnetic radiation, which I think is
Okay,
kind of BS at this point. But I have tried that. Like I'm willing to try like anything if it's like cheap enough.
gotcha.
Like I'm willing if the concept is interesting, I'm willing to just buy and try it. Um, Other than that, I don't really feel like I'm that NF, except that like I can just sense the vibe, and I probably like, do things based on that NF knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. I probably make fun of NF in my brain, like the hippie talk.
Oh, you have those in your head.
I can I can make fun of it in my head, so I can. To some extent, I guess I understand it. Like I can pretend I'm a hippie in my head, and be
I
like, what would a hippie say about this? Oh, they would say that.
gotcha. Um, what about your audio kinesthetic? Are you how good is your audio? Like, are you good at learning by listening? Would you say?
Yeah. I love. I recommended audiobooks to people, and then she was like, "Not everyone learns this way, Tony." I was like, "What?" And then yeah, if you're not audio and you're not consume high, like I don't know how you learn. I just don't. My
Complete.
friend, I think he's visual and he has like low consume. I watched him watch OP videos at like 1 time speed, and then after like a few like 30 seconds, he was just skipping around. I'm like, how are you able to learn anything?
Oh, he's like jumping from the like fast forwarding.
Yeah, like for me, I'll speed it up to like 2 or 3 times speed, and I'll just listen to all of it. I'm like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Like I listened to all the like I joined the class in like I think May, and I watched like all the class videos like a month or a month and a half.
Yeah.
So like it was like yeah, I can. It's not that hard to consume all this. Just
That's a weird way of consuming. I do speed things up to. I never do 3 times or 4 times the speed. I always the maximum I do is 2 times the speed. But I only speed it up for like boring stuff. If it's like ST boring stuff, then I
oh
speed it up. You know, and then when I hear something like important that's like key information, then I pause it and then I write it down. But otherwise, yeah, yeah, I like to listen to stuff in like the normal speed usually, unless it's an audiobook and it's like there's a lot of fillers. You know, like sometimes there's an
oh.
audiobook and it's full of like filler BS. Like you have an author that just won't get straight to the point. Then I would speed it up. You know.
I do this thing that everyone judges me for, but I watch movies at least 2 times speed.
Why? You're stupid.
The logic is like sometimes I'm not sure if I should watch a movie, and I could like research it and do a lot of like consume just summaries and stuff. But then
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, the movie's 2 hours. I could literally watch this in an hour. An hour is not too bad. It's the 2 hours that like my ST efficiency is like, no, that's too long to sit there. 1 hour is fine. And in movies, there's always like parts that are like really boring and slow, or maybe parts I don't understand until I see what actually happens and I connect all the dots. I'm like, this just speeds it all up. And also, I get like the best accuracy of whether or not I liked it. I didn't like trust someone else's thing. I just consumed all of it, and I was like, okay, done. Like that was fast.
Yeah. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, but everyone was like, how could you do that, you monster? I'm like, don't you want the experience? I'm like, you can experience at faster speeds too, you know?
What about really good movies? You know, like some of those like let's say like Infinity Wars or Endgame. Like those were pretty good.
Oh, and Endgame was really hard to watch at like 2 times speed. It was like the speed or something was like the way they said things. It's kind of weird. It was actually a little hard to hear like physically. If I can't understand you, that's a little harder. But I
Yeah.
did. That was a little painful. Like that particular movie was a little hard to watch.
You didn't like it?
I like 2 times speed in terms of comprehension. Just because if the audio is like if there's something weird with the audio, it's like kind of hard to listen sometimes. And
Yeah.
I was not willing to watch a 3 hour movie at 1 time speed.
Well, Infinity Wars was a pretty fast-paced movie, you know, even at like normal speed.
Yeah, like maybe in the action parts, I'll slow down a bit to enjoy it a little more. But other than that, like I don't see any reason to slow it down.
Okay.
I see processing really fast as a very valuable skill. And I feel like if I can process a lot faster than other people, I can consume way more and my consume greed will just be
But
better.
this is not, you're not learning shit from those movies. They're entertainment. You know, they're not like the whole idea is to prolong the joy too, right? Like from like watching those movies. You know, you're not watching them for the purpose of, okay, I got the info. You know, like it's more like, you know, it's more like the vibe. Like it's more like the NF and the SF, right? Like,
This is what the Fs tell me. And I'm like, okay, but I feel like you can NF, SF experience things at faster speeds. So it's a just self challenge. It's not just the information. The information obviously is a big thing, but you should be able to process that emotion 2 times faster than you already are.
but the question is, why do you want to do that? I don't want to.
Oh, oh, the biggest thing is like, let's say I'm like really hesitant to like consume something.
Yeah.
Like it's just the easier you make certain things, the more likely you are to do them. So if
What,
I'm really hesitant to watch Avengers at all, I'm like, well, okay, I made it twice as easy. You can watch it. Like it's like a no brainer at that point. It's really cheap.
what if, like, do you go to the movie theater and watch movies?
Oh, I don't usually go to the movie theater. Yeah, but when I do, I have to like watch like a normal person.
You what?
I have to watch like a normal person when I go to the movie theater. Yeah.
Does it bother you?
A little bit, but like I'm probably there for just SF social stuff.
Oh, you're there to hang with your friends.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Like
Okay.
I like one time like a girl invited me to go Frozen and watch Frozen 2. I was like just happy to just go with her. I didn't care if the movie was good or not.
Okay. So it's not about the movie this time. You're there to hang with the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have other reasons for doing this stuff. Yeah,
Gotcha.
TI reasons. If the reasons are good enough, I'll like it. I relate to that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it. That's very so that's an interesting way of thinking. So I think that's quite interesting. What about your kinesthetic? How are you with kinesthetic stuff?
Um, I guess I can kind of like I know my spatial awareness isn't that bad. Like I'll do things like a lot of my life. I go to the bathroom. I don't turn on the light because I
Yeah.
just know where everything is. I'm like, yeah, that's where that thing. I can just feel around. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. A lot of it's mostly like areas I've been to a lot. Like my room, I'll know where everything is.
Yeah.
And my body, I'll know like how it feels and stuff. I could like even if I close my eyes, I can imagine how my joints are all connected. I guess. But I guess for SE stuff, like external stuff, I guess I'm pretty bad. Like if you throw a ball at my head, like I have some reflexes, but like probably I'll probably get hit a few times if you just did it really randomly.
It's weird because I can relate to the stuff that you said. Like for example, like I have pretty good reflexes, and when people throw a ball at me, I can catch it. But like this summer, you know, because COVID happened, so I got furloughed on my job. So I ended up picking up like a temporary job, which is like coaching at a kids softball camp or baseball camp, sorry. And like the kids would like throw like the baseball at me, and I could actually see myself like you know, like flinching. The thing is, I do catch it, but like there's like a, I don't know, it's like the SI or whatever. Like, you know, like when there's like physical chaos, it's like hard to deal with, you know, because we're good with like abstract chaos, right? But not like
Mm,
physical chaos. That's a whole different animal there, you know.
yeah,
Um, because you have a masculine SI, would you say your things are personal?
yeah.
So do you get
I,
territorial with your belongings?
yeah, like either I get territorial or I'm like, you can keep it, I can buy another one.
Okay,
Like
so
I don't want to share. I'm like, just don't touch my stuff. If you want it, I'll buy you one.
okay, yeah, that's interesting because I do the same thing. Like I don't like lending people stuff to people. I'd rather just
Yeah.
give it to you. You take it,
Everything, almost everything I buy has a purpose, some sort of NT or whatever purpose.
yeah.
And like some of them are more disposable than others. But yeah, if you touch my stuff, I'll probably not like it. Or
Okay,
especially if you move my like I live alone mostly, so like this is like never an issue. But yeah, if you move my stuff, I'll be like, why do you move my stuff, bro? Like
do you
that's
have a
my stuff.
roommate or something?
I have roommates. But this like never happens where they move my stuff. But I imagine the possible scenarios of like, yeah, if I expect my stuff here and it's not there, I'm like, I know I didn't move it. Oh yeah, one time I was in a restaurant with a bunch of family members, and then like we went to take a picture, and I left my iPhone on the chair, And when I got back, the iPhone was gone. And I was like, I know my SI is good enough that it's not my fault that the iPhone's gone.
Yeah.
And it turns out someone had like moved the chair back. I think the momentum made so like the phone moved forward and it was
Yeah.
on the floor. And then I was like pretty pissy about that. And my TI was like, I don't care if I make a scene. Like it's not. I know I'm not the incompetent one. It's you guys.
Yeah, you definitely have things problem. That's definitely a things problem right there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I had my own experience too, where I was doing a keynote speech about travel, like travel hacking, and the person that was hosting the event, it was his turn to speak, and he asked me if he can use my laptop, so I said okay. And then when he gave back my laptop to me, I looked at my laptop and it's full of like spit, and I was like so pissed off, you know. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? My monitor is full of like this gross like stain now that I have to like scrub off, you know. So that's SI there.
Yeah. I don't particularly try to control people sometimes, but I do pay attention to what people do. I keep tallies. I'm like, oh, you're the type of person who does this. I know
Yeah.
I can't trust you anymore in these areas.
Yeah, especially with like SE friends, right? Like you lead SE friends. Like
Oh,
my sister likes to like just disrespect things, you know. So I don't trust her with physical objects.
yeah. I don't know if I have a lot like lead SDs in my life, but yeah, my sister will just take your stuff and doesn't care about them sometimes, and I'm always like, how are you so disrespectful? And I guess I realized with my double deciding, since I didn't know I was a double decider, I
Yeah,
realized that I'll get most mad at people when like I double decided. I still think they're like a shithead.
yeah.
Like,
But because you have NE, have you pissed off lead NI people? Because for them, their ideas are personal, right? And you're just shitting on their idea. So have you ever pissed off? Because I find myself pissing off a lot of NI people when I question their ideas, right? And you know, because it's NI, they spend so much time to refine it, and then I just chat all over it, you know, like
yeah, like I definitely do the part where like I talk too fast and like I go to any idea to another idea to another idea and like slow down. I was still in the other idea. I'm like okay, and then I think one of my friends is masculine lead and then they get really like personal about the idea and like oh I think this is it, and then I'm like oh yeah maybe, and they're like oh maybe it's other thing. They're like no I think it's this thing. I'm like okay, but we can try. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's that thing. Sure.
gotcha. All right, so I have two questions for you. The last two questions. So first one is, what advice can you give to fellow ENTPs on how they can improve their SI or sleep last?
Um, leverage the SI a lot. Use your TI to help it. Um, at least get your basic adulting done. That's like the most important part. If you go into some tech field, that will probably help your SC skills a lot because it helped mine a lot. And I used to be scared of technology, so yeah, I guess I've come a lot. Like when I remember when I was training to be a software developer, and I knew that if I wasn't going to get a lot of freedom and stuff from it, or like a lot of benefits, I wouldn't have stuck to it. So, but it really does help with your ST. Um, and then for sleep processing, yeah, I'm doing that a little bit now. I'm listening to Dave and Shannon's like a lot of their videos. Like they have like a couple of sleep videos. I'm listening at 3 times speed, so I get to keep listening to that. Slow down, yeah, listen to their advice. Don't have too many notifications. Have rest opportunities, take care of your health. Those will be really important.
And then my last question for you is, how do you experience being info dominant versus and not being energy dominant?
I thought I was energy dominant until a week ago, but I guess I'm a little better at blasting than I thought I was. Um, yeah, I keep listening to one of the info dominant, energy dominant like videos, and like I'm starting to internalize what it really means. And some of it seems a little contradictory at first, but then I don't know. I thought that I was the type who just consumed, and if like to avoid the argument, I wouldn't blast. Um, I guess with like knowing that you're sleep last, just pay attention to that last animal and do it more. And if it's sleep last, it's pretty easy to like just know rest more at certain times and get better at resting. If it's play last, then that's probably a little harder because you have to expend more energy instead of save it. But yeah, I guess it does help because I do get to positions where people think I'm knowledgeable about certain areas. So use that to your advantage, but don't overuse the blast because tribe stuff will get to you sometimes.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming out to do this interview.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.